Alright, recording started. How would you recommend ranking YouTube videos these days? Are 5 gigs still working? Yeah, I mean, I still have videos ranking from 5 gigs. They're probably not working as well as they used to, but it's still something you can do for cheap. Where you're not going to spend $5 if it doesn't work. It doesn't work, but they do still work. More reliable ways is to do it with GSA, like with your own scrape sites, or my favorite way is just to use a PBN. Depending how important the video is, sometimes we'll do PBN first, and then if it doesn't get where we want, we'll also mix in GSA or anything like GSA. So I mean, it just depends on what the video is and how competitive it is. But I mean, my recommendation is my number one is always the PBN. I mean, that's just me personally. All right, from Michael. I mean, not every page I wouldn't say Michael, but when you mention something that you have content on linked to that page. So, I've used this example in webinars before. If we go to Google, oops, let's go to like bodybuilding, Wikipedia. If we click here, you'll notice Wikipedia does a great job of doing this, that they're a really good site to kind of see how to interlink correctly. Anytime they mention something they have content on, they link to it. Okay, here's something that they have. So they got a page on progressive resistance exercise, so they link to it. They got a page on musculature, so they link to it. They got a page on professional bodybuilding, so they link to it. And they have so many interlinks here, and a lot of people say you can interlink too much. Look at them. Probably one of the most powerful sites on the internet. And just in the first paragraph here, they have 20 interlinks. Now, if you don't have the content, don't force links. But since they have the content, it makes sense for them to link out. I mean, instead of saying well-known bodybuilders like Charles Atlas, who was a bodybuilder from the early 1900s. If you want to know about Charles Atlas, you just click on his name. Here we are with Charles Atlas, and everything about Charles Atlas is right here with interlinks to stuff that's about him. So I mean that's the best way to interlink, is just to link to a page when you have content on it. That's kind of the best advice I can give on it, and just follow what Wikipedia does, because there's no one that does better than they do. All right, cool. We got some questions rolling in now, so that's good. All right, from Michael here. It's so hard to say, Michael, because there's so many other factors in play, like how powerful the target page is, what the URL is, what the anchor text is you're using. All things equal, I don't even know. I've never really tried to compare it. Supposedly, one PR5 equals hundreds of PR3s. That's what they say, but I don't. That's just kind of like talk. I've never tested it, so I can't say for sure. From Brian, that's kind of the same question, just with domain authority. Again, I haven't really tested it, and it depends on anchor text and URL structure and all that stuff. So it's really really hard to say. But same thing, that would kind of be like a weak PR4. That'd be a weak PR2. Same thing. Hundreds of those should equal one of them in theory. That's what they say. I don't necessarily believe that, because if you get the anchor text right, you can have one domain authority 20 outrank 10 domain authority 40s if you get the anchor text right, or say like 5 against like 40. Those 5 domain authority 20s could beat out the 40 domain authority 40s, or 20, whatever you want. If there's more of these and less of these, but these have the right anchor text and URL structure mix, then these are going to win. So I would say actually the URL and anchor text is more important to get that right. All right, from Michael. I did a while ago, just kind of like spammy type sites. They were ranking for a little bit, then they disappeared. But I mean, it was complete spam, so I haven't messed with that in a while, Michael. From Pete. I don't see any video listed there, Pete. I can look at it, just list it. From Dennis. Fastest way to make money for next month's payment? Probably client getting Dennis. Pick up a local client. I would say that's the quickest. Affiliate can take a little longer. Unless you do launch jacking or something like that. You can do a launch jacking campaign. But, I would get on Fletch's webinar and ask him that question too, because he's someone who's really good at that. And he made a lot of money quick himself. So he'd be a good person to ask that as well. From David. It's hard to say, like, when I don't see something, David. I mean, from the sounds of it, that sounds fine, David. But without seeing, it's really hard for me to visualize exactly what's going on there. But that does sound okay. By the way, if you're a beginner, no question is too beginner, so don't be afraid to ask anything. From Dan. Yeah, I purchased them through Register Compass, and I use the same method that I show in the training, Dan. It should be in the supremacy section. Just looking at domains. I mean, I'll look at remember, I look at the whole picture, the name of the domain, the age, all that stuff. I'll use things like, if it says fake PR, a lot of people stay away from them, and the maybe PRs. So I'll bid on a lot of those if the links back them up, because people avoid them. They think they're fake, but as long as the links are there, they're not. So stuff like that. I mean, I can find domains at that quality for $69 all day. I actually find domains better than that. Usually my domains are a good amount better than that for the same price, or maybe a little higher. So I mean, it's just a matter of research, Dan. I take a lot of time doing that research. From Ferran. So for tracking rankings, I use micrositemasters.com. That's who I use to track my keywords. And then to manage all my PBNs, I just use like spreadsheets and text files for not the most organized thing, but I use a spreadsheet to record anytime I make a post, and I record like the anchor text, what money page it went to, the date, where it was ranking before, all that type of stuff, and I cover that in the supremacy section on how to. And actually, it's in the new beginner series. I show the exact things that I record. So that's how I record what post I make, and then when I buy a domain, I actually show that in the beginner series too. When I buy a domain, I put them all in a notepad file, and I list certain information. But that's in the beginner series, what exactly I list. But no specific no complicated way of managing it all. To learn about on page for really any site, Elizabeth, it should be. Is it supremacy? It shouldn't be supremacy. Ask David Mills that, Elizabeth. He is David at omgmachines.com. He organizes all the content, so I'm not exactly sure where he put that. I'd have to go in and look. I'll go ahead and take a look after this, and maybe I can find it and then let him know you'll be emailing him. But email him and ask him, and I'll look at that after this session. All right, from Bill. You're welcome, Bill. I'm glad you're here. Again, Bill, I'm not. I don't use any complicated system. I just use spreadsheets or text files. I mean, like with a text file, I got like I'll list my domain, blah blah blah. I'll say it's a power of 4 and 3, and I explain this in beginner series what I'm doing here. And I'll just list certain stuff like where it's hosted. I got it set up with private name servers on ASCO hosting account number 2 or 3, whatever. So I'll list stuff like this. And then, you got like domain2.com, blah blah blah, domain3.com. So if I ever need to search for a domain, all you can do is go to edit, find, and then whatever domain you're trying to search for. So let's say I want to find domain2.com, find next. Did I misspell this? You gotta start at the top, sorry. So click at the top, scroll, because I have one file with all my PBNs in it. It's really big, so I would scroll up to the top, do edit find domain2.com, find next, and it'll find it. So if I wanted to see what's the power of this domain, I would show the power, where it's hosted, all that stuff. But you can use Notepad like that for anything. And then same thing with spreadsheets. I can't bring up those spreadsheets because they have personal information in them, but you can go to edit find in a spreadsheet, and you can find certain things, and it will go to that in the spreadsheet. So I just use that. Notepad, spreadsheets, and I use the find feature to find what I need. Alright, so hopefully that's helpful. You don't need any complicated system for that. Let's see. Yeah, every once in a while I will get a term in Microsoft Masters that's not where it says it is, but it's pretty rare. They're pretty accurate for the most part. So, but I have had that happen for sure, where they say it's there and it's not, and it could have to do with data centers, Emma. Different data centers can show different rankings at times, so it could have to do with that. For example, one of my business partners will email me and say, hey, we're ranking for this now, and I'll be like, well, I don't see it yet. And then the next day I'll see it, or a couple days later I'll see it. But then sometimes I've had terms where it shows it, and it showed it for a couple weeks, and I didn't see it all throughout those couple weeks. But that's rare. For the most part, they're pretty accurate. I mean, I like relying on what I see, because that's what I see is what I believe. So yeah, I would probably believe what you see opposed to what Microsoft Master says. But for the most part, they are pretty accurate. I think you're asking what that site is. It's micrositeMasters.com. I believe that's what you were asking, Bill. All right, from Rod, I'm sorry. Rod, I would start with supremacy right away. That's building out a network. You can start building out that network, and then when you decide what you want to do, that network will be ready to go. But I mean, like I said, a network is an asset. First of all, it's a tax write-off. Any site you buy, you write off as a business expense, and it's an asset. You can use it to rank whatever you want. So if you decide, okay, I want to do affiliate, you can start doing affiliate. If you change your mind, guess what? You can delete all those posts, and then you can use that asset for local if you want to switch to local. Okay, well, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do day job killer. Delete all that crap and start with your day job killer. You have that network for whatever you want. So my advice is always to start with your network right away. I wish I could copy that. Let's see. PursuitZone.com. Did I spell that right? Yeah. Then we got mechanical riding bull. I mean, right away, I don't like having mechanical bull twice in the URL here. Yeah, I don't like having the mechanical bull twice. Google is very, very touchy with over optimization. That, depending what your anchor text is, that gives you less room to wiggle with your anchor text. All right, let's put it that way. Not say you can't rank with it twice in there, but it's just giving you less room to wiggle with. Let's see. Pretty thin content too. Not that you need a ton of content, but let me move this thing. I would add more content in there, most likely. One thing I notice is with this small amount of content, look how many times you have mechanical bull. Right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. So that's a lot of mechanical bulls in that small content as well. So, with it twice in the URL, and then all these times in such a little amount of content, that's asking for trouble. So I would be very, very careful about that, and I would change it. And Mike just called me. Let me just text him to make sure he didn't need anything. Alright. Oh, cool. We had tons of questions come in. Good. Alright, from Michael H. I don't worry about that, Michael. As long as they are indexed and they have good links, that's all I care about. I don't check anything else. From Emma. It could be someone controls, like the previous owner controls a lot of their own links they have, like they kind of had a network. But it depends how many, like 6 to 10 links for a site that has thousands of links isn't really that much. But if it loses 6 to 10 links and only had like 20 links, then that's definitely fishy. That's something where you may have gotten duped. So it depends how many links they already have. But I mean, losing that amount of links suddenly for a site that has a lot of links is very, very normal. Alright, from Bill. Um, I don't always use private name servers, Bill, but yeah, I mean, when you use them, you want to set each of those to whatever IP the site is for. And that's a unique IP for each site, obviously. So hopefully that answers your question. Alright, from Brian. I still vary, Brian, but not as much. Because the thing with YouTube videos, one of the reasons you can get away with that, first of all, is the domain authority. Okay, it's the number 3 ranked website in the world. It probably has a 99 domain authority, maybe 100. And then if you go to any video, let's just go to the CrossFit Games video. In the URL, notice how there's no keywords. They just have watch, blah, 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 and a bunch of random letters. That also helps us be able to go after the keyword more, because if your keywords are in the URL, and especially if they're in the domain name, then you can get away with less over-optimization, less with your anchor text. So because of the high domain authority and also not having any keywords in the URL, you can definitely get away with a lot more than you can with a normal website. But at the same time, I still switch them up. Just not nearly as much as I would a website. Alright, from Rod. Alright, good stuff, Rod. From George. Alright, George, so if you have a private network, let's say one of your sites links out to an affiliate site, and maybe it's ranking decently, but you're like, you know what, I just don't want to do this affiliate site anymore. You could just go into that network site where you link to that affiliate site and take down the post and just use that site for something else. So take down that post to the affiliate site, and if you decide you want to do local now, put up a post for whatever local site you're doing and link out to that. So instead of powering that affiliate site, it's now powering the local. I mean, you could really do both if you wanted. You could use it for both. But I'm just saying, when I am no longer using a site for whatever reason, I take down the post. So why use that juice for something that I'm not using? I just take it down. From Bill. Yeah, and that, everyone has their own way of doing things. For me, it's just simple works for me. A spreadsheet, notepad, it works for me. It doesn't work for everyone, but for me, it's totally fine. Alright, from Michael. No, Michael. I mean, have you seen the beginner series? That site's coming up pretty quick. But at the same time, I would ask you, the things I would look at is when did you put in the links? Because remember, a lot of links are taking longer to kick in. What are your URLs, and then what you use as your anchor text? Because those are the most important things. If you put them in a while ago and it's still not ranking, it's probably something to do with a URL anchor text combination where you're over optimized. So I would take a look at that. Is my window zoomed beyond the window? I don't think so, but if it is, let me know, guys, if anyone else having that problem. Alright, from David here. Um, It depends how you set it up, I would say, David. Like, if you're like, say you got like Bob's Builder, like your company name's Bob's Builder. If you have like, Bob's Builder Nashville, Bob's Builder Sacramento, Bob's Builder Philadelphia, in that case, yeah, it would be fine to use. But if you're like going to be using for a whole bunch of different niches and stuff, or you're doing like different brands, I would be careful with that. But if you kind of have like one company that kind of fits the whole picture, I would say yeah, you can do that. But if not, just be careful with that. From David again. Yeah, I mean, if you're using like if a company EMD is still available, like they got the .com, you picked up like the .net or whatever. If you start out ranking them, it's most likely going to be a problem for they're going to see that as a problem. So yeah, I mean, I would be careful with that because I know if I owned a company and someone started outranking me with my own name, I wouldn't like it. So yeah, be careful with that. So we only got one more question since I last screenshot. So if you guys got questions, fire them away. And that's why it's good, guys, to write down questions as you're watching videos. That way you don't forget them. All right, from David here. All right, so to see if a site is indexed, go to Google and just type in site and then site name dot whatever. Don't put in any HTTP, don't put in www, just that. Alright, so there is a site called sitename.com. So if we did like just some made up site, it's going to say no results found. That means the site's not indexed. It's not in the Google index. But like omgmachines.com, that is indexed. A bunch of posts show up about it. Alright, so you just do site and the colon, and then site name dot whatever. No www, no HTTP, none of that stuff. Alright, cool. So we had a few more questions roll in there. It's good. You're welcome, Dennis. Michael. Yeah, I mean, it's okay to use 300-word articles and then Michael, but I wouldn't keep doing it over and over. Like if you're using like 5 Web 2.0s, I wouldn't make them all that short. Diversify it, but yeah, I mean, throwing in 300 words here and there is fine. I'd do it. Even like when I'm doing my PBN posts, sometimes I'll use short articles like 250 words. Not that often, but I will every once in a while. I only use Register Compass to buy my domains. Mainly Namejet and Snap names. Every once in a while GoDaddy. But all those three are through Register Compass. They deal with Namejet, Snap, and GoDaddy. From Chris here. Well, my experience, Chris, is it's a headache for me just because I'm not very technical. So to deal with a site that's HTML is really tough for me just because I'm not technical. WordPress makes it so easy. It's kind of point and click, and for like dum-dums like me. So as far as experience, it's a lot harder for me to deal with. But as far as rankings, I don't think there's much of a difference. It's again, it's mainly about the URL structure, the anchor text, and then your links, where the links are coming from. So I mean, whether you have, if you have an HTML site, Chris, I wouldn't worry about that affecting your rankings as long as you know how to work HTML to do the same, the way the same things we do. From Brian. I mainly use Moz, Brian. I'm testing with some stuff with hrefs, but for the most part, I use Moz. Because, I mean, that shows the most important links most of the time, at least. So, Moz just makes it pretty easy. I mean, for an inner page, you mean, David? I mean, if the site's indexed, that's the main concern. If the site's indexed, an inner page will be indexed, or at least eventually it will. But determining a penalty, I mean, it's a lot harder to figure out. The site thing is just for checking the main domain name to see if the domain is indexed in Google. That's the main thing you're concerned about. I don't really worry about like pages getting de-indexed. I don't even know if that happens, to be honest. I'm not sure if certain pages get de-indexed or not. I'm not positive, but I always just worry about the domain, like the main domain. If that's indexed, then that's usually what I use that for. All right, from Bill. No, I don't silo PBNs, Bill. Just money sites. Me personally, I think some people do silo them. They use some tricks with it, but again, I don't see any need to get complicated like that when what I'm doing is working like it is. Sure, Rod. Especially since there's not many questions coming in. A few more came in, but I can definitely cover that. So what I use, Rod, is called registercompass.com. I cover this in all the training. Alright, so I'm just going to log into my account here. Go to domain search. And then you can set all your filters right here. Alright, so I usually make sure it's indexed. So I set this greater than 0. That will only give me sites that are indexed in Google. Domain age, you can use whatever number you want here, but I usually do less than like 2012 or so. Domain authority, what do you want your cutoff to be? Usually for me it's around 20, 25, something like that. So anything greater than 20 you can put there. And then auction registrar, you can do Namejet, Snap, or GoDaddy. Now, Snap's usually the biggest, or Namejet's usually the biggest, then Snap. And GoDaddy's has the most domains actually, but they're usually the most expensive. You can find good domains in there, it just takes a lot more time. So, but I do use all three. So, I'll start with Namejet, expiring in the next 3 days, let's say, if I do my research every 3 days. And then go and hit Find Domains. Alright, and then you'd only want to look at the auction domains. So click on the number at the auction. There's 1033 of them. And you can organize how you want. I usually organize by the SEO Moz Domain Authority. And I'll take it from there. And again, I have videos on me researching all of this stuff, but then I would do I would kind of go through all these domains, and then I would go and do the same thing for Snap. I go change this to Snap, find domains. And then click right here on the auctions, and these are all the Snap domains that meet my needs. Alright, now I would organize by domain authority again and do my research. Alright, so that's how I do that. Alright, from Emma here. Yep, yeah, you can do that, Emma. So Emma's saying, like, if you're linking out and you link to, like, domain 1, like, post 1 on your PBN. So let's say we got, PBNA. Post 1 on that PBN links to domain1.com, domain2.com, and domain3.com. She's asking, can you make, a second post and link to domain1.com/inner page? And you can do that. You can do that. I talk about this in the frequently asked questions. How many times can you link to pages on the same domain from the same PBN? I usually don't go over 3. So, I may link to, like, domain1.com from one PBN, domain1.com, domain1.com/innerpage1, and domain.com/innerpage2. But I usually won't link to more than like 3 properties of the same domain from one PBN. And I wouldn't keep repeating 3. I might do like 1 on the next one, 1 on the one after that as well, then maybe 2 on the next one. Or maybe I'll just link to like these 2. But yeah, you can do it in different posts if you want, Emma. From David. It could just be taking time to get indexed, David. I'm not sure exactly what you mean by with Site Explorer. If you're talking about open Site Explorer or what we were talking about earlier. But just elaborate on that if you need me to answer something else. From Chris. The more PBNs you get, it's probably gets more important to work that in, Chris. A lot of the times usually 95% of the time I'm either using private name servers or I'm changing the A record. And I cover that in the training as well. Changing the A record is so easy because you just go in and you go to the advanced DNS settings. It's different for each registrar, but basically you just go to the advanced DNS settings. It's usually under like host records, something like that. And there will be like a star with an IP address next to it. You just change the IP to whatever IP the site has, and that's all you got to do. That's it. So you just got to log in, change that IP, and it's all set from there. So that's my favorite thing to do because it's so quick. But I also use private name servers along with that most of the time. Rarely will I use like the given name servers. The time I do that is when it's like a complicated registrar where it's hard to figure out private name servers and a record. Then I'm just like, whatever, I'll just put in the name servers that the SEO hosting company gave me. From Aaron. Honestly, Aaron, if it doesn't suit, I don't worry about siloed that much. I have sites that are not siloed. Calcast isn't siloed. It ranks great. Silo can help, with a bigger site, but I really don't worry about it that much, as much as other people do. From Jeff. I'll do whatever I want right away, Jeff. It doesn't have to match anything previous. None of that. And again, I cover this in the beginner series. If you guys haven't watched it, I recommend watching it. But sometimes, Jeff, what I'll do is I explain in that video series, I'll just change like the site title to whatever I'm doing like the new content on. So if it used to be about like computers, and now I'm gonna link out to my e-cig site, I'll just change the site title to like electronic cigarette resources. Start smoking without smokes, stuff like that. Yeah, you can totally make it your own, Jeff. Absolutely. Alright, from Aaron here. And that's fine set up that way, Aaron. As far as interlinking, I mean that's simple. If you mention if you're on the SEO page and you mention that you also do web design, just link out to the web design page. That's it. Or if you mention, we also do reputation management, link that to your reputation management page. But setting it up like this is fine. You don't have to silo. I have plenty of sites that aren't siloed. From Rod. Absolutely, Rod. No problem at all. Can anyone else not see the entire question? That's weird. I have it right in the center of the screen. Alright, from David. Move it left. So that would be too small. So let me try recopying the question. That's weird. No one's ever said that before. So let's see. Is that better? Right there? Let me know if that's better. So that's too big. How about right there? Is that big enough to see right there? Can you guys see that alright? Okay, alright, cool. So it seems like that's good for everyone. Alright, so we were at David. Oh no, David, what we were saying is like if a company say like BestBuy.com. Now this would never happen, but BestBuy.com is ranking number one for Best Buy, right? And we see that BestBuy.net is available. Maybe it's at auction or something. That could happen. And we get BestBuy.net and we start outranking BestBuy.com for Best Buy. That's going to be a huge trademark issue. You're going to get in trouble for that. Especially the bigger the company, the more likely to get in trouble. But even smaller companies, like if I have uh, Greg's Coffee Shop, and it's like kind of like a brand, and someone else registers GregCoffeeShop.net, and they outrank me. That could be a trademark issue if I'm trademarked. So that's what we were talking about, David. Not necessarily, if someone else has SEO.com and they're number one, and SEO.org is available, that doesn't mean I'm not going to get it and try to outrank them. I can definitely do that. So let me get a new screenshot here. All right. Yeah, that's like in the middle, David, where it's kind of like a personal decision. If how safe do you want to be? For me, I do have some site where I'll do like 3 or 4 sites on the same authorship and Facebook and all that, like that are like SEO sites like you're talking about. But I wouldn't go past that too much because you don't want to show Google you have like tons and tons of sites. They probably wouldn't care about 3 or 4 sites, but you never know. So it just depends how careful you want to be. It should be fine. There should be no problem with that, but just be careful adding too many sites. I probably wouldn't go over like 5 or so just to be safe. That's me. Emma, usually, yeah, but it depends how new the URL is. It could be jumping around, doing a little dance, which can happen with new URLs. But if it suddenly disappears and it stays disappeared for more than a week, I would say, then there's a good chance it's penalized, I would say. A good chance. Let's see. Yeah, Michael, for the replay, it should show just like I'm seeing on my screen. So there shouldn't be any problems with the replay, definitely. From Jeff. Most people are using GSA now, Jeff. I actually don't use either of them myself because I'm so into PBNs and I have Jimmy to help me with GSA stuff if I ever need it. So I actually don't use that myself. But when I do stuff, it's usually with GSA. Like when I have stuff done, I'll have Jimmy do GSA. And a lot more people are using GSA than Magic, but Magic still works. I know people who are doing very well with Magic. So from Chris, that's funny. That's crazy. They bought him out. You would think that they would legally have to take it down. That's crazy. From Aaron. No, actually, Aaron. I don't know. I doubt I can show this site, but there's a site that Mike just picked up as a client, and on their homepage they had like, I mean, it was an easy keyword, like it was like their brand name, but they weren't ranking for it. It was an EMD for their brand name, and they weren't ranking for it. On the homepage, all they had was like some type of JavaScript, I guess, where it was just like a picture. And that's all they had, no content at all. And I told Mike, look, tell him at least to put in a couple sentences so we can get this site ranking. I think they put up like maybe 200 words, like a 200 word paragraph, and that shot it right up. So I mean, you don't need a ton of words. And when I went over the mechanical bull thing, the reason I would suggest he has more words because this is a little more competitive than what I was doing. So it also depends on competition. So with something like this, I probably wouldn't take the chance at having this small amount of content. But if this was something that I knew is a very easy keyword, I wouldn't worry about the content being this thin because it's such an easy keyword. But since this is a harder keyword, I would definitely want more content on it. All right. So it depends on competition. From Nancy. Yeah, you can do that, Nancy. And that's what most people actually do. So you can definitely do that. Usually having the domain, having like the a product name in the domain, you only are gonna run into trouble with like really big brands, like Best Buy, Staples, like big companies aren't gonna like that. Outside of that, you can usually get away with it. All right, we got one more here from Bill. Do you usually set up social sites? like Facebank and Twitter, Facebook and Twitter to help rank the PBN. I don't set those up for my PBNs, Bill. I mean, if it's a Facebook, Twitter, social sites, I usually use them on my larger sites. So if it's just like a smaller site, like a that I know is not going to be that competitive, I don't even usually worry about the social. But like for bigger sites where I know I'm going to be putting in a lot of time for it, then I want to create that realness aspect. Look, I have a Facebook, I have a Twitter, I have a Google Plus. They're all linked together. They have friends on them. I post to them. For the larger sites, I do that. If it's an important site and it's a larger site, I will take the time to set up that social aspect of it. But usually for smaller sites, I don't even worry about it because I know that I can overpower everyone with just PBN links, if that makes sense. Right now we got no more questions, but we got about 5 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, we got a couple more coming in actually. I'm going to run to the bathroom, and then I'll take all the questions that came in as I'm going, and then we'll finish up. So I'll give you guys 2 minutes. Write down any final questions you got, and then we'll cover them all in the last few minutes here. So I'll be right back. Alright. Let's see here. Alright, so I'm going to take a last screenshot here. We'll get these last questions in. Oops, my power cord wasn't plugged in. There we go. Alright, let's see. From Bill. Oh, we answered that. From Nancy. Alright, cool. From Brian. Yeah, Social Explosion I usually use on my PBNs, Brian. So, for a PBN I'll set up, I'll install Social Explosion. That way when I make my PBN post, it's getting social signals to it. I think it helps it make it a little stronger and helps it get indexed quicker. So that's usually what I use Social Explosion for. From Bill. Yep, I linked together all my social stuff, Bill, because that's what normal people do. If you have a company and you have like, your YouTube, your Facebook, your Twitter, etc., you're gonna link those together. If I got like, again, Greg's Coffee Shop, if you have your YouTube, you can also say, check out our Facebook and Twitter. Or on your Facebook, you're gonna say, we also have YouTube and Twitter linking out to them. That's very normal to do. That's actually what companies do. They link to their other social accounts, and it helps show that you're a real person. From Brian, how long is your longest anchor text? I don't know, 10 words or so, something like that. But I do like, especially with Panda 4, I've been liking mixing in long anchor text more. And I'm still testing with some stuff, but it seems like mixing in long anchor text is definitely working well. So I don't know exactly how long my longest is, but it does seem to be working. We got one more here from David, and then we'll finish up. He's saying he's been using Social Explosion on his money site. Is that not recommended? I just haven't gotten in the habit of doing it yet, David. It's totally fine to do. It's just social signals. It's not going to hurt anything. So I wouldn't worry about that. But I've just been using it on my PBNs for the most part. I mean, that's just me. But you won't have any problems using it on your money page. Alright. Alright, guys, so I'm going to end this one now here. I will get the recording over to David tonight. He should have it up by tomorrow. And again, make sure you guys ask write down your questions when you're going through the content, because I really want you guys to get the most out of this. And I'll answer any question you have. Like if don't be afraid to ask questions if it's a beginner question. I don't care how beginner it is. Just make sure you write down what you don't understand, then you ask, because that's how you make things work. All right. Just want to make sure everyone has the best chance of making things work. Alright guys, so I'm going to end this now, and I will see you all on the next webinar. I think my next one's the 25th. And then pretty soon I'm going to be doing them every week, maybe even a couple times a week, depending how many new people we get in. So that'll be cool. Alright guys, I will see you all soon. I'll get the recording over to David, and it should be up tonight or tomorrow. I'll talk to you all soon.